Okay, so imagine this. A legal battle has been dragging on for 15 years. It's finally the last day, the day for final arguments. But then, right at the finish line, there's a request to hear brand new evidence. Could that change everything? Well, that's exactly what happened in the Natasha Singh case, a landmark ruling that really redefined what a fair trial means in India. This whole story forces us to ask a really tough question, one that gets to the very heart of justice. Should there be a deadline on finding the truth? We're about to see how the courts wrestled with this, trying to balance the need for a quick trial with the absolute right to a fair one. So let's set the scene. We're jumping in right at what was supposed to be the end of the line. After years and years in court for a really complex fraud trial, the day for the final arguments had at long last arrived. And when I say this was a long road, I mean it was an extraordinarily long road. Just look at this timeline. The first report was filed way back in 1998. By the time they were getting ready for final arguments in 2013, a full 15 years had gone by. Just, wow. So, what was this all about? Well, the prosecution's whole case was built around this allegation of a pretty serious corporate fraud scheme. They claimed that company directors had conspired with a public servant to get their hands on a huge insurance payout they weren't entitled to. And the amount of money at the center of all this? A whopping 3.60 crore rupees. So yeah, we're not talking about a minor mistake here. The financial stakes were incredibly high for absolutely everyone involved. Okay, so the stage is set for the final act of this 15-year saga, but just as the curtain was about to fall, the defense team made a move that nobody saw coming, a move that would change the entire script. On the very day of final arguments, Natasha Singh's defense team decided to play a powerful card. They invoked Section 311 of the Criminal Procedure Code, which basically gives a court the power to call new witnesses at any point if it's essential for justice. And they asked to call 3 of them. Now, you have to understand, this wasn't just some random delay tactic. They had a very clear strategy. They wanted to bring in 3 very specific people. An eyewitness who was actually there when the evidence was first collected, a company insider who could shed light on internal decisions, and their own handwriting expert to challenge the prosecution's claim. But that request, it immediately hit a brick wall. First, the trial court said no. And when the defense appealed, the high court backed up the trial court's decision, a flat-out rejection. So why did both courts slam the door? Their reasoning was pretty straightforward. It's just too late in the game. And in their opinion, the testimony from these 3 people wasn't actually necessary to reach a fair verdict. As far as they were concerned, the case was closed. So, with the lower courts shutting them down, the defense took their fight to the highest court in the land, the Supreme Court of India. And the judgment that came next, well, it would fundamentally change the rules of the game. The Supreme Court, right off the bat, pointed out a massive flaw in how the lower courts had handled this. By saying the witnesses were unnecessary, they had basically guessed what the evidence would be without ever hearing it. And the court made it crystal clear. You cannot just assume what a witness is going to say. Okay, now this is where the legal reasoning gets really brilliant. The Supreme Court broke down the law, Section 311, and showed that it has 2 parts. The first part is discretionary. A court may call a witness. But the second part, and this is the key, is mandatory. If a witness's evidence is essential for a just decision, the court shall summon them. It's not a choice, it's a duty. And this powerful statement, this became the absolute core of the judgment. The Supreme Court was saying that the right to a fair trial is sacred. It's more important than speed, it's more important than convenience, and literally no price is too high to pay to make sure that happens. The court then explained that the lower courts had been asking the completely wrong question. The test isn't whether some new evidence is going to be a smoking gun that decides the whole case. The only question should have been much simpler. Is this testimony relevant? Does it have anything to do with the case at hand? So the court went through each of the 3 witnesses one by one and just laid it all out. The eyewitness, super relevant because they could challenge how the evidence was collected in the first place. The company insider, of course they're relevant. They could explain how decisions were actually made. And the handwriting expert, the defense absolutely has the right to bring in their own expert to counter the prosecution. Denying this, the court said, was a serious mistake. So what's the big takeaway here? Why are we still talking about the Natasha Singh case all these years later? Because it caused a fundamental,
paradigm shift in criminal justice.
The ripple effect from this judgment was just immense. It became binding law for every lower court in the country. It cemented the principle that a fair trial comes first, period. It put a stop to courts prejudging evidence. And it set a new, clear standard. Relevance is the test. All of this protects the right of every single accused person to present a full, complete defense.
Ultimately, the Natasha Singh case is a powerful reminder of what's truly at stake in our justice system. It leaves us with a profound question to think about. If the whole point of a trial is to find the truth, should we ever let the clock run out on that search?